Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cloud Wars Live. This is our podcast where we dig into the digital revolution, and we've got generally a series of monthly guests who are with us from time to time. And one of our digital all-stars is Bonnie Tinder. Bonnie's an expert on customers and the customer experience through software and other enterprise technology projects. And she runs a peer-to-peer review site called Raven Intel, from which perspective Bonnie's able to reflect on how things are going in the world of customers, how they're doing with these technology projects. Bonnie, welcome back to Cloud Wars Live. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Yep. So Bonnie, I think as always, you've got some interesting perspectives about that whole thing. You know, we call your monthly episodes here Tinder on Customers. So what's the big reveal for you this month?
Well, this month I've been thinking a lot about customer experience because of some interactions that I've had personally in my consumer customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been really thinking through this month is this idea of digital transformation. We know, because we talk about this all the time, it's off the charts. In the last year, every business is going through a digital transformation of some kind to deliver service in a better way digitally for customers, whether it's e-commerce or delivering remote work, things like that. And we've seen this industry absolutely booming. But the big question that I was mulling over this week is how much has all of this digital transformation actually benefited the end customer? Are customers happier as a result of the digital transformation? And again, I mentioned these personal experiences that I've had this past week, and it really made me pause to say, the customer experience is great when you can deliver a digital product and, all of this idea of getting your goods online and things like that. But at the end of the day, if that relationship that you have with that organization in person, or from a relationship period, even or perspective, even an online relationship is not good, doesn't matter. You can throw all the robots you want at it. I'm still not going to be loyal to that brand. And I had a couple, experiences this week that really turned me off. Despite a great digital relationship with the company, that in-person experience was terrible, and it changed everything for me. So that's my topic this week, is this question of are we better off as a result of all this digital transformation?
Wow, Bonnie, it's interesting, right? Because the sort of the big lesson for everybody over the past 2 or 3 years, and certainly over the past 13, 14 months, has been however good you were in the physical world, you better be as good in the digital world. And now perhaps what you're saying is, as people have companies have come to master the digital side of things, are they neglecting or forgetting or giving short shrift back to the traditional way of doing business?
I think so. I think everybody is so concerned with this digital experience that they've forgotten that the in-person experience is probably more weighty.
Yeah. Well, we recently had one like that in buying a new car. It's the same sort of car. I bought, I think, 7 of them in a row or something like that. And I went to a different dealer afterward, and I got a call from the dealer that we bought the car from, where it had been such a terrible experience. And I said, no, I will never do business with your dealership for any reason again. And it all had to do with the personal face-to-face experience there, right? Got everything done, set up online, go in there, and woo. Now that was a stinker. Bonnie, why do you think this happens? What's the thing that companies have to examine, identify, own up to, and address?
Mm-hmm. I think that the missing link in the customer experience equation is, the digital side of things. You can measure and put programs together to ensure a good digital experience, and you can measure the digital experience. On the other hand, and it's one thing to measure that. Did I get my goods and services on time? Was I able to order my coffee easily and pick it up at Starbucks. That's one part of it. And you can check the box and say, hey, our mobile app is working great. Delivery is on time. It's easy to return goods back to the store, back to, electronically ship them back. All of those things you can check the box and say, hey, my digital project did what it needed to, if you're able to do those things. On the other hand, and I'll use some specific examples. If you are Starbucks, and that's where you stop your measurement of customer service, you are going to then minimize the impact that when I go into your store, and this happened to me last week, and I pick up my coffee there, if I am greeted with 50 rules before I get in, and basically police tape all over the chairs and tables saying don't sit here and don't eat here, I'm not going to be a happy customer paying for my overpriced coffee. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in that, in our, now COVID era that makes it, that they I guess can't deliver services in person anymore like they used to. On the other hand, the experience in a store is nothing like it used to be pre-COVID. Safety and precautions, those are standard things. Everybody has to deal with it. But I think Starbucks has really, in my personal experience, dropped the ball with their in-person customer experience. No longer do I want to pay $5 for a cup of coffee, even if it's easy to order and pick up, when my experience in the store is going to be like that. And I think that a lot of people, as I've done these informal surveys now with, with my network, are feeling the same way. It's one thing to have a great mobile experience and an order experience. The minute you step foot though in that store, and all of a sudden, the relationship seems poor, I'm no longer loyal to that brand. And so I think with these digital projects, you have to measure what is the loyalty of the customer, at the end of an interaction, not just did I fulfill the orders on time and things like that. So I think it's a mistake to not be measuring that personal experience and tying it back into the digital.
Yeah, Barney, the human touch, right? All that other stuff is supposed to enhance that, not replace it or dismiss it. Bonnie, two thoughts I had there as a follow-up. One is that's so compelling what you described there, that not a good thing with any company, but it was Starbucks always, that how many millions of articles have been written about it's Starbucks, it's not the coffee, it's not the beverage, it's the experience. And yet they come in and allow that gem, the thing that's allowed them to sell, charge $5 or $6, whatever, for a drink there, that it's gone away. So I hope they'll wise up to that and listen. And the other one was one, and we might have mentioned this a few months ago, but there's a relatively new CEO at Lowe's Home Improvement Centers. And he's been a big advocate of technology that come in to help them change how they manage inventory and demand forecasting and so on. And especially, he said the curbside pickup was something they really had to get right. And he feels that they've done that. But he made this big point, and this was on an earnings call. He said, look, I want to emphasize too, he said, you can buy all the greatest technology in the world. You can buy 2 or 3 times as much as you need, and it won't make a damn bit of difference if you don't have people in the store who make customers feel welcome and appreciated and respected. So I just thought it was priceless advice.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And my Blackboard, every month we talk about, my quote of the month. So this one, I think, really underpins what you just mentioned there with Lowe's, is that people are going to forget what you said. People are going to forget what you did. People will never forget the way you feel. And I feel like that is what we're getting at in this customer experience equation here, is that, they're going to forget very quickly how easy it was to click and order something from Lowe's. That's sort of table stakes at this point. I can do that now anywhere, certainly Amazon and all the competitors. On the other hand, if you make me remember how much you care about me as a customer because of those in-person interactions, or even online interactions that are, those things outside the norm that you have to make contact with a company, those are the things that are going to make me a loyal customer, or make me a disloyal customer.
Yeah. Hey, Bonnie, sort of an analog to what you have on the board. That's a terrific sentiment. It really captures it. Um, my dear mother used to tell us, especially as her children moved into adulthood and started having our own children. But my mom would say, your children will never remember what you did for them, and they will never forget what you did with them. And honest, I think I've thought about that, most every day, for the last many years since first started hearing that. So it's eloquently expressed as well by that saying on your blackboard there, and that sense of feeling, right? And I hope that a lot of companies will listen to this and to bear in mind here, all this digital wizardry is supposed to be in service of the point you make there about how the customers feel. It's not a replacement for that one-to-one touch. So Bonnie, great insights there. So how does this come into play, Bonnie, with what you've talked about, even in some aspects like B2B services?
Mhm. In the last year, we've actually seen B2B services. Now, B2B is, I think, a different type of customer dynamic, certainly in a lot of ways. We've seen customer experience and satisfaction actually increase over the past year. And I think that's somewhat different than what we've seen in the B2C world, which is, the Starbucks experiences and things like that. And I think part of what we're attributing, customers being happier with, let's say, a digital transformation projects or professional services engagement. Those are things that I measure through my company, Raven Intel. Where people are actually seeing an increase in the relationship is the availability to schedule a meeting, and availability of project team members because of reduced travel, let's say. And you're able to get an executive's time a lot more frequently now because they're not necessarily in the office and in board meetings all the time. So that's a positive there. I think the other thing is in terms of relationship, a video conference, we're not wearing masks. So Bob, you and I right now, we're interacting in a virtual world, but we're able to see one another without the masks that we're dealing with when we're out in a retail sort of environment in that in person. I think it's a small, it's a minor type of thing. On the other hand, I think masks have really made the retail and the in-person experience more negative. And as I talked with and did this informal poll in preparation for today of my my network, I think masks, again, there's just this perception of I'm not getting as good a relationship with somebody in the physical world from a service perspective, or I can't hear them or things like that. And we don't have to deal with that when we're in this B2B virtual world of delivering services. So I think that's definitely a plus. And we're able to meet more and more via video calls. That's an accepted thing, but I think that's helped deepen relationships where it maybe would have been a phone call in the past. So I think all of those things have really helped increase, just even in minor sort of ways, the interpersonal relationships and helped projects be more I think more enjoyable and more satisfactory to customers.
Bonnie, that's a great point. But let me take a second here for a break from our sponsor, BMC. BMC wants to know, is your business on its A game? That's when systems are intelligent by learning from markets, where automation is paramount yet effortless, and when technology and people work as one in an enterprise. The A game is your business at its absolute best. BMC calls this the autonomous digital enterprise. Find out more at bmc.com/A game.
The other thing is just efficiency in general. The fact that now we can do so much in a shorter period of time without being in person to deliver a certain piece of work, and we're not wasting a lot of time in a in-person meeting with sort of the water cooler type of conversations. The efficiency in delivering like a specific project or a scope of work, I think is just more efficient in a digital universe. And we've seen improvements in speed of delivery with these projects as a result as well. So I think those are all the attributes where the B2B services area is increasing. And I think, it's no secret people like working remotely and
Yeah.
feel like they have more flexibility. So I think just in general, people are a little bit happier with that sort of environment.
Bonnie, again, it's great insights. I think you're pointing to some things that, every company, every industry has to understand this and sort of take this to heart, because you're not going to get a second shot, right? There's other places to buy coffee. There's other places to buy whatever it is that somebody needs up and down the line. And if it comes to the point where, I guess if I could sort of try to speak for, the example you cited with Starbucks, you would be willing, it sounds like, to take, not necessarily you have to have a great experience, you just want a less bad experience, right? I mean, that's a low bar, and there's lots of companies that can meet that low bar now. So that danger, right? And then once you go to that other place, you find it, you like it, that place you used to go to and get a lot of your money, they're done as far as, more money from you. And this notion today of the speed at which the market's moving, the competitive nature of it, when somebody gets that right thing to develop customer loyalty and the great customer experience, the good companies are going to really pile that on and enhance it. And it's going to be very hard, I think, for, the former top choice to win people back. So what I think you're describing here, this is valuable stuff.
And I would add one thing to that point, is that the smaller companies out there have wised up to this digital transformation. All of a sudden, this digital universe is, I mean, as I mentioned before, these are going to be table stakes. And so it's going to be so much easier to compete now with the Starbucks and the Home Depots of the world, who had a jump start on all this great digital transformation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think there's going to be a commoditization of the digital experience, because everybody's going to be able to deliver it. Well, not everybody, but people are are transforming in that direction. And I think we're going to go back to, it's the relationship aspect of this and services that are going to cause that differentiation, not how easy can I buy this commodity. That's going to be commoditized. It's the brand loyalty is going to come from these in-person experiences. And I think that's where some of these brands that are really sort of resting on their laurels, e.g. Starbucks, in my local experience here, are going to suffer in the long run once everything goes back to sort of a, some sort of state of normalcy.
Yeah, and Bonnie, I think employees feel that too, right? After a while, they're going to say, "Gosh, you come in here." People come in and they're sort of scowling as they come in, reflecting the atmosphere we're providing for them. Like, I want to go somewhere where people come in with a smile on their face, right? So, hey, Bonnie, this might be a little bit of a stretch here for a connection, but I wanted to mention this, right? As you were talking about emphasizing the impact that small businesses can have now, if they get this balance of digital and physical and the great customer experiences right. I was talking the other day to an executive from Oracle, and he happens to head up all their new industry cloud solutions. So he tossed out a couple numbers that surprised me. First, he said that we have now 100,000 customers using the Oracle industry clouds. From those 100,000 customers, they have 16 million users. And he said, and a huge volume in some industries of those 16 million total users that are very small businesses that have never used Oracle products before. But now, as to meet the needs of the digital economy, businesses are buying these vertical solutions. They're tying in their contractors and some of their smaller suppliers into this as well. So I think that's going to be another opportunity, this new type of automation that allows small businesses to have the capabilities, the connections to, and the engagement with giant companies. That's going to be a big step forward as well.
That's right. And that verticalization is going to allow, the local hardware store to have the same infrastructure that Home Depot does, or a similar one. But I think that verticalization and specialty that they're they're sort of bringing customers, our best practices and things like that, like standard setups. That's really going to help enable, a small business to not have to start, from a blank canvas and create everything. So I think that's going to be huge.
And Bonnie, this is I'm sorry to bombard you with this, but a line that I use all the time. I said, in the cloud wars, all the vendors are competing, but the real winners are the customers.
Yeah. There is no doubt about that. And I think, the more parity that, or that everybody's working towards, or competitive parity, so to speak, it's just going to allow that level of innovation to sort of snowball. And as you say, I mean, the benefit to all that innovation and people trying to be really, or at least vendors being really competitive for customers, it's going to be their benefit, for sure.
Yeah. Bonnie, last thought on that. I've heard a lot over the last 20 or 25 years, people will say, I don't get it with this enterprise software, right? Because if every shoe company can buy the same enterprise software, how does any of them gain a competitive advantage? And I feel like saying, well, that's like saying in baseball, everybody has the same bat. So why doesn't everybody hit, 370, instead of 230? I don't know. It's an odd way of looking at things. And I think it also sort of pushes, again, like you've been describing, too much of the onus over on the technology and not enough emphasis on the people, the culture, the innovation, that sense that, you have a choice. You can make the customer feel like he or she is number one, or you can make that customer feel like, hey, spend here, spend somewhere else. I don't care.
Yep. Without a doubt. And, I just read something today, for software, 80% of it is the same. There's 20% of, feature functionality is better here at this vendor, better here. What I think makes all the difference is how committed is a software vendor to the relationship. What are they going to, bring in terms of that true partnership, that's going to provide an advantage for the end customer, your business. I mean, and I think you can see that pretty clearly demonstrated even during the selection process. You're going to see, some companies that will just do things differently and give you a different sort of feel about how they're going to hold up their end of the partnership.
Well, Bonnie, great points. Really love that. Like the idea there right behind it. People will never forget how you make them feel. Companies should remember that's an important thing, and don't over rotate toward the digital at the expense of the human touch that people can give in the real world.
That's right. It's that final mile that you go that they truly are going to remember and create that loyalty that in the end is going to truly benefit your company, and it's going to make that digital transformation, investment that you made all worthwhile. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't help strengthen the customer partnership, for your business, it's not as worthwhile. So,
yeah. Well, Bonnie, thank you so much. Bonnie's the CEO of Raven Intel, a peer-to-peer review site where you can find tons of good things about what's going on with the software vendors and the partners who work on some of these implementations. Bonnie, thanks as always for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
And folks, thanks to all of you for being with us here at Cloud Wars Live. The world's moving awfully fast. We've got experts like Bonnie in to help all of us figure out how to navigate that high-speed journey forward. Thanks for being here. We'll see you again next time.